Welcome back to another episode of Bet On It with Sam B and the Pigeon. Last week, Pigeon had his worst week yet and went 5-2. So, you should still hop on. You should still get on board and try to catch the Pigeon when he gets out of the coop because he is rolling this year. If you were to just bet $100 on the first week on every game and just use that profit to keep betting, you'd be up $1,370 right now just betting on the Pigeon. So, with no further ado, let's get into this week's lines. What do you got this week, Pigeon?
Hey, Sam B. All right, for the first game, we got the Miami Dolphins getting 6 points at the Bengals. For this handicap, I really like the fact that I'm sure that Miami Dolphins got downgraded last week after getting absolutely blown out by the Patriots, but I think that's actually going to give them more motivation to play well this week against the Bengals because they got absolutely demolished, and they know that they can play much better than that. So I think that the Bengals are slightly overrated in this week just because they've had two really big coin flip games. So they're 3-1, but last week they could have easily have lost to Atlanta. Week 1 they could have easily have lost to Indianapolis. So let's just say they had lost both those games. They could easily have been 1-3, and this line would be much different. So I think the Bengals are good, and I know they lost Giovanni Bernard for a couple weeks, and Mixon's going to come back, but he's also kind of shaky coming back his first week off injury. So I like the fact that I'm getting 6 points on the road with a decent Dolphins team. So Miami +6.
And there's actually some action right now towards the Bengals because it's 6.5 right now. So boom, jump on that.
Take the 6.5.
All right, let's go. What's the next one?
Next one, we got the Oakland Raiders getting 5 points at the Chargers. A big underlying theme for this game, I think, is going to be the quote-unquote home field advantage that the Chargers lack. Last week, they played against the San Francisco 49ers, and I watched the game, and the whole stadium was red. It was supposed to be a home game for the Chargers, but it was probably, I'd say, about 75 to 80% of the fans were San Francisco 49ers fans. And I'm sure the Raiders fans are going to travel just as well as those 49ers fans. So I expect there actually to be a 2-point home field advantage for the quote-unquote away team and the Raiders here. So they're getting 5. You could kind of think of it as a home game, like they're almost like a home underdog here at 5, which I really, really like. The Chargers don't look like they can stop anyone on defense when they're without their best cornerback who's done for the year, and Joey Bosa, who's still out with a high ankle sprain, I believe. And besides that, I mean, Oakland Raiders have looked good offensively every single week. And last week, I had them at -2.5, and they ended up coming through and lighting up that Cleveland Browns defense, who's really, really good, much better than the Chargers defense. So I think this is going to be a shootout. And I think in the shootout, in a close game of a shootout, I like getting the 5 points and having that low-key home field advantage. So Raiders +5.
Yeah, and another one. That's 5.5 right now, too. So jump on them as soon as you can.
Next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings getting 3 points at the Philadelphia Eagles. First off, for this handicap, I do see these teams at about even. Both teams have kind of started off a little disappointing, with the Minnesota Vikings 1-2-1, the Philadelphia Eagles 2-2. But I think it's a situation that makes Minnesota the better team here. One, they are coming off a 10 days rest. They played last Thursday, and they played pretty damn well against on the road against the Rams. It was a shootout. You know, I mean, both defenses kind of got lit up, but I think it was actually a positive for the Vikings to come out of there after kind of that rough start. You know, they got blown out by the Bills at home and got embarrassed. I think it was a good confidence builder for them to go into the Rams and compete with them. So they get the extra couple days rest, which is huge. And I also think there's a big revenge factor in this game after Minnesota went into the Eagles last year during the playoffs and got absolutely smoked. I think the score was like 37 to like 7 or something like that, 38-7.
Right.
And so I think this is a game that they've had marked on their calendars for a long time. So I like the situation for the Vikings here. I think it's kind of a must-win for them at 1-2-1. They don't want to go 1-3-1. It just kind of puts them really far back in the division. So I think it's a really big must-win for them. I like them getting 3 points here.
So would you say that's a possible money line taker as like a bit of a Hail Mary this week, maybe?
Yeah. I think if you like them +3, I think you like them to win the game too. I mean, that is something you could throw in there. Throw a little change on the money line. Maybe make a little extra.
There you go. There you go. Give him some juicy stuff here, Pigeon. You're too conservative, but that's how you win money, and you are winning money. So let's move right along to the Seattle game.
All right. I like the Seattle Seahawks at home getting 7.5 points against the Rams. I know the public loves the Rams. They're everyone's odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. I was actually doing some research, and I saw that the Rams, at this point of the season, we're going into week 5. There hasn't been a team as favored as the Rams are this season to win the Super Bowl in like 10 to 12 years. So think about that. That's how favored they are to win the Super Bowl. They're about like a +350, and there hasn't been a team that favored to win the Super Bowl at this point of the season since, I think,
like the 07 Pats?
2000, yeah, like 07, 08, something like that. So I think the Rams might be a little overrated here, and I think they're vulnerable coming off of, like they're still on a high horse and stuff like that. And Seahawks' home field advantage is always elite, and I think that always really helps them step up on defense. So them getting over a touchdown in a division game at home, and you got the better quarterback with Russell Wilson. I know that their defense lost
a big, big
season,
anchor,
but I still like them at +7.5. I think that half point might make a huge difference. If the Rams win by 7, they win by 7, but you get that half point to really, help you win. Another thing, just if you do like Seattle +7 or +7.5, I also would consider taking the under 50 points in this game, because if the Seahawks are able to cover, it should be a relatively low-scoring game for them because their defense is stepping up.
All right, no, that's brilliant. All right, last game of the week, Washington, Monday night. Who you got?
Last game of the week, Washington Redskins getting 6 points at the Saints. I know this is really rare for me. I don't really go with a full 5 of all underdogs, but this is just what I like this week. And I think the Redskins, coming off a bye here, are looking to spoil Drew Brees' possible, he's going for 500 touchdowns, so they're probably going to look to throw the ball more a little in this game. But I think that big matchup between Josh Norman and Michael Thomas is going to be huge. The Redskins' defense is actually really underrated. If you look at their stats through the first 3 weeks, they are one of the best teams against the pass and overall allowing yards. And I think coming off that bye really helps them. The Saints did look good at the Giants, but who doesn't look good playing the Giants these days?
Right.
You're
the only one that doesn't look good.
What?
You're the only one that gets a butt kicked by the Giants, dude.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I didn't play it last week. But I think you get the better defense here. You get 6 points. I think the Saints are going to be a little distracted with trying to get Drew Brees that 500 TD mark, and they also get Mark Ingram back, I understand, but I think they're going to have trouble trying to incorporate him into the offense just after 1 week because Kamara's been so hot.
Right.
So I think this is a good spot for the Redskins coming off a bye to really prepare on defense and really be able to keep it a relatively low-scoring game and cover the 6 points.
Well, that sounds awesome. Before we get out of here, though, so just to recap, Seattle +7.5, Dolphins +6.5, Oakland +5.5, Minnesota +3, and Washington +6. Those are pretty much the lines right now.